Okay, hello, we're on. See if everything's working here. And yep, sound's coming through. DVR is set, watch is off. If you give me a audio video DVR check in the chat room, please. I see Gary. Hi Gary. Hello Wintermute. Hi Tony. Hi Darren. All right. This is a little different to do a live stream without somebody with me on Zoom. Haven't done that for a while. So this is about looking through Windows update logs, Windows upgrade logs, to see what kind of clues they can give us for solving computers that have upgrade problems. I spent quite a long time digging through this and going down rabbit holes and wound up with maybe useful information, maybe not, and I figure maybe together we can figure some things out. I don't think this is going to be a solve-all for the problems that are still happening with Windows feature upgrades. So we're going to come over here and dig into it. Hello, Ada Rivera. And hello, Mike Perodin. We're just about to get rolling here. Looks like a few more people popping in. I started the live stream technically a few minutes before the top of the hour, hopefully to let people get in, because this session is a little more dependent upon interaction, I think, between me and chat room. If you haven't noticed already, I'm always starting sessions at the top of the hour. I'll start the live stream maybe 2 to 5 minutes before that to be able to check on settings and make sure everything's coming through all right, and also let people receive notifications that we're started so that they can get in. So let's punch over here to computer number 2 and get with it. So here I have a folder open where I have Windows Update files, log files for my computer called Doug DSO. That's Digital Solutions Online. That's the company that built my custom-built computer back in 2013, I think it was, 2012. Wintermute says AVD is good. Thank you. And then here I've got a couple for Janet. And then I have one for Zvi Manor. Actually, this is not one. It's two. When I click into that, he did 2 different updates that he sent logs for. So let's start with Janet's failed upgrade to 20H2. So I'll double click into this folder. Now this Windows update, this one comes by virtue of Get Windows Update, and it includes updates other than feature upgrades. This setup diag seems to do just for upgrades. You see the word upgrade here. Here's setup diag. You know, when you do, if you make a USB for installation media, there's a setup.exe file that you would run. So I'm kind of thinking they're associating the word setup here with a upgrade instance, which is a feature upgrade. So when I double click into setup diag results, here's what we get. Matching profile found, find rollback failure. So here's right where we get the first clue of what's going on. You know what, let's open a side-by-side a successful one. And that'll be from in here. So I'll do a Windows key right arrow, let go of the Windows key, and then pick the window that I want to be on the left side of the screen. So find rollback failure. This one has find rollback failure. Don't tell me I didn't get this successful one. Oh yeah, here's successful upgrade down here. So this file on the right side has this is all the same. The May 13th failure, this is the May 13th failure. So this setup diag results that we got from an earlier date only has what was available at that time. This more recent one that was captured has this failed upgrade on May 13th, and then another one on May 13th. And when we scroll down further, we get a successful upgrade on May 25th. Between May 13th and May 25th, what was happening for Janet's computer is it was failing to even attempt to do the upgrade. She would click on check for updates and it would come back with nothing. It wouldn't do the upgrade. Then here on May 25th is 2/18. So this is all part of the same operation right here. This part up here is where it began. So we get the name of the computer, model information, and it's a UEFI BIOS, the BIOS version, the host version, and the host build string. So that's, by host here, they mean this is the operating system that the upgrade is begun with. And the target operating system build string is this one. So this was going from 19H1, otherwise known as 1903, to did she go to 20H2? I think that is. I'm going to do a Control C there. I think that is. And go see which that is. Yeah, 20H2. And it shows the upgrade start time on May 25th, 6:30 a.m. and the end time on the 25th at 2:26 p.m. and then it gives us how long that upgrade took. So just short of 8 hours. Now this ended at 2:26 p.m. Down here we have at 2:18 p.m. So this is the last setup phase that occurred during this process. And we're going to look at some other logs that have another piece of information after the word phase here. And then last setup operation, start suspended services. So this is the last thing that occurred, is to restart suspended services, is the way that I'm taking that. And it tells us that it was completed, or completed successfully is set to true on both of those. Okay, so let's go close that and take a look. Yeah, there's so many different ways we can go on this. This one, this is the first file that showed that rollback failure. So let's go look a little closer into what it tells us about that. Down here, there's an error code. And then here it tells us the address to go look up error code information. So I'm just going to drag across that. Control C to copy that into the clipboard. And then I'm also going to highlight across this and Control C to put that into the clipboard history as well. And then let's go to those addresses. I'll go to a new tab, Windows key. You know what, I'm going to punch a different camera here because I'm not sure what else I have in that paste buffer. Yeah, that's all okay. And my picture's in the way. So when I do Windows key V, it shows me all my clipboard history. So here's that URL to find the error codes. And then Windows key V, once I'm active in the address bar, paste that, press enter. And then here's error codes. And this area in the Microsoft build documentation, here this shows we're on a documentation page. This area in here has a whole bunch of information on error codes. Windows key V over here, and then paste that code. And here's an example. That's not what I want. Go back. I'm going to try putting just the last part of that error code. Windows key V, paste that whole error code, and then take out the first part of it. Does that get me into it? 20017. Windows deployment. Let's go look at that. All right, that didn't get me there, so let's go back and do it manually. There's this place here for error codes. Looking for 217, 20017. Okay, starting with a 2, use the first digit to identify the phase. So here they're saying right after the X, the first digit, which in our case, the first digit after the X is a 2. So it gets us into this section, execution safe OS mode. And then after that is match the phase and operation values to the tables provided below. The following tables provide coding, phase, and operation for values of extend code. So it's been a little while since I've been through this part of it. 2 and then 17, was that the next piece? Okay, I'm not recalling if the 17 got me to anything more specific because all I ever found on it was about safe OS. And then in looking further, finding that safe OS refers to during one of the reboots, it reboots into a Windows pre-installation environment. And so it's basically telling us with this error code that the failure occurred during this safe OS mode or Windows PE environment. It doesn't give us anything specific about what went wrong when it was in that and when it was at that state. So one of the suggested solutions for it was to resolution procedures. I think it's in here. Here we go. This is looking more promising, isn't it? Let's search in there for this 0x2017. It took me out of there again. Okay. This section shows the whole upgrade process, the way it's supposed to run. And here's where it talks about the safe OS phase. So errors most commonly occur during this phase due to hardware issues, firmware issues, or non-Microsoft disk encryption software. Since the computer is booted into Windows PE during the safe OS phase, a useful troubleshooting technique is to boot into Windows PE using installation media. You can use the media creation tool to create bootable media, or you can use tools such as Windows ADK, Developers Kit, Developer Kit. I'm forgetting the A at the moment. And then boot your device from this media to test for hardware and firmware compatibility issues. So the implication there is that there may be something wrong, something incompatible about Windows PE mode and the display adapter or the network adapter or a chipset or something like that. I find that a little difficult to buy, and they're suggesting that creating a media creation tool and see if you can boot straight into the Windows PE environment is a way of troubleshooting this. I struggle to buy that. The error message for Janet's computer clearly indicates that the error occurred during safe OS phase, but could it be something that while it was in the Windows PE environment, that it failed to do something it needs to do in there? It's just not a very specific answer. I think it does indicate some of the other things that we've been going after are probably not the source of the trouble, such as the distribution folder and disk space. When we look through the logs, we find that the process actually checks for disk space and a number of other things. Let's see, Dan Nielsen, hello, and Frankie B, hello. Let's see, what do we see here? If you attempt to use media creation tool with USB drive and this fails with that error, that's not what we have. And they're saying here it's because it's a USB drive using GPT partition style, but the tool requires an MBR partition, so that's not of interest to us in this case. Is there anything else in here that's of interest? First boot phase, second boot phase. Let's go look at those. First boot phase. Boot failures in this phase are relatively rare, almost exclusively caused by device drivers. Disconnect all peripheral devices except for mouse, keyboard, yada yada. Second boot phase. System is running under the target operating system with new drivers. Boot failures are most commonly due to antivirus software or filtered drivers. Disconnect all peripherals. So this is making me, leading me to understand that this first boot phase, kind of implying that that is the safe OS phase. There's a down level phase because this phase runs on the source operating system. Upgrade errors are not typically seen. If you do encounter an error, ensure the source OS is stable. Also ensure Windows setup source and destination drive is accessible. See, here's some of the things that I'm struggling with here is, what do they mean by these terms? So this part down here goes into the Windows 10 upgrade process. Here's talking about the down level phase. Is run within the previous operating system. Windows files are copied and installation components are gathered. So this looks to me like when you boot the computer before you even start the upgrade attempt, that this is what they're calling the down level phase. What, for downloading files? Downloading the upgrade files, perhaps. Safe OS phase. A recovery partition is configured. Windows files are expanded and updates are installed, and OS rollback is prepared if needed. So the rollback, the operating system rollback is prepared at this point, not knowing if it's going to be needed. It's being prepared so that in case it's needed, it will be there. Now, at another place during my research, I found towards the end of the process a log entry that said it was shrinking the recovery partition. So we see that on any drive, there's multiple partitions, and one of them is called recovery partition. This statement and that log entry that shows that it's shrinking the recovery partition implies to me that as part of the upgrade process, it actually increases the size of the recovery partition, probably by taking away some of the free space from what we know as the C drive. First boot phase, initial settings are applied, and these are example error codes in that phase. Second boot phase, final settings are applied. This is called the UBI boot phase. Out of box experience is what that stands for. And these are sample error codes of what's encountered then. At the end of the second boot phase, welcome to Windows 10 is displayed. So this UBI out-of-box experience is just like you got a brand new computer, what steps it's going to take you through. It won't take you through creating a new username because it's already there, but it still is somehow the same code components. Uninstall phase. This phase occurs if the upgrade is unsuccessful. Image of that is not shown, and some example error codes. Let's see, down here they give some definitions of abbreviations that they use during that section. Let's go take a look at error codes. Upgrade error codes. And let me point out over here in this panel, we're in a section right now that refers to upgrade errors, and just up above that is a section about updates. It's been a little confusing because sometimes they interchange those words, but this section here appears to all be dealing with upgrading from one feature version to another feature version. I'm going to display my paste buffer again. It was 20,017 was the result code that was specific to what we're getting for Janet's computer. So the 2 at the beginning, that indicates that it was during the safe OS mode. And 17, the way I'm deducing is that the 17 at the end of that refers to this number 17, indicating the SP execution OP boot. So I don't know what the letters OP mean at this point, but it's implying that's when it happened. Oh, Wintermute, you've got something there. Thank you. 20,017-2 safe OS phase 17 equals SP execution OP boot. Need to research that. So I think you're saying you also are unfamiliar with that, or you're suggesting that I take that search further. Let's go ahead and just try searching that. SP execution OP boot. And I have not searched this. There's many other places that I've gone during this that I'm intending to take us during this video, unless we find something more promising. SP execution OP boot. Right click on that, new tab. Wintermute says yes, and he says no, I will. So I think maybe he's going to do a little research for that while I show some other things. Analyze upgrade errors, down level phase, safe OS phase. Recover partition is configured, updates are installed, OS rollback is prepared. Yeah, okay, so Wintermute, I'm going to let you go ahead and do some research on that. I'm going to go ahead and show some other directions that I've gone with this. Let me show you this WinMerge application that I downloaded that kind of helped me gain a little insight. So what I've done here is to compare different versions of files, and this one is set to, let's go take it to files that you're familiar with or that we've already gone through. This is in LiveWindowsTraining and Win Updates, and let's take this one for Janet. Set up diag results, and then let's take one from zvManor. Now zvManor did a couple different runs at upgrading from 1909 to 21H1, and this one he did 1909 to 20H2 and then update to 21H1. go into here and get setup diag results and then compare those two. So this is Janet's on the left and zmanner on the right. Hello, Recovered. So it highlights, it makes it easy to see the differences between the files. So these two lines of black text on white, they match the right hand side. And then this section that has a yellow indicates there's something different between these two files. And this lighter yellow is showing us what is different. So this says rollback failure on the left, and on this side it says successful upgrade. And then these specific ID numbers are different. So we have different names of the computers. There's manufacturer and the model. And this was interesting on zmanners, is that the model isn't even filled in. And I'm thinking that it might be a custom built computer. Not sure why that wasn't recognized. And then firmware type is UEFI, and over here firmware type is PCAT. And it also appears to me that firmware type can come up as PCAT on custom built computers. BIOS versions, host build string. So host is the version that you're starting with, and then the target build string. So here the targets were the same except for these two digits. The one on the right was upgrading to .900, the one on the left to .985. There's a upgrade start time and upgrade end times, and this is where I saw some surprising differences. Janet's took almost 9.5 hours. zmanner, the one that he was doing here, was 23 minutes. Now I want to compare this to the other one that zmanner did because it has kind of a surprising difference. Down here we have a rollback failure found, and on the right hand side successful upgrade. So this is just kind of gave me a head start to figure out what is important to look at in these two files. And that's going to become more significant, I think, when we get to looking into the more detailed log files. I'm going to come and change this file on the left hand side and show the setup diag results for the other one that zmanner did. So this one was the one that went to 21H1. So let's go to zmanner, and oh, they both went to 21H1. There. 1909, manually 21. So I want to get the one that wasn't manual and take the setup diag results. This was interesting. So the one on the right was 23 minutes. The one on the left was 11 hours, 46 minutes. And I think I sent an email back to zmanner asking if he had an explanation for this. When we look at the times, this one on the left was May 20th at 1500 hours to May 21st at 300 hours, or 3 a.m. So 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. essentially. And then this one over here starting May 21st at 6:13 p.m. So I was of the impression that this was done on the same computer, that he actually installed 1909 on this computer and ran through the upgrade to 20H2 and then to 21H1, and it took nearly 12 hours. And on the right side, he went from 1909 and manually upgraded directly to 21H1. just reading the title that I put on the file based upon the email that he sent me. So did he actually go take that full step, and it only took 23 minutes, whereas when he did an upgrade to 20H2 then 21H1, it took 12 hours. Well, if we look at the host version and the target version, that should give us an answer. So here, the target build string is the same on both sides. See, they're both in white. So the target was the same on both sides. The host, 19041.1, and over here, 18362. So 19041 is, we know, is 20H2. So going from 20H2 to 21H1 was nearly 12 hours. Going from 1909 directly to 21H1 was 23 minutes. That's surprising. That's surprising to me. Do you get that? I wouldn't have expected that. I would have expected 1909 to 21H1 to take at least as long as 20H2 to 21H1. 20H2 to 20H1, almost 12 hours. 1909 to 21H1, 23 minutes. Am I seeing this right? Do you guys see something that I'm missing? Incorrect? I'll let you absorb that for a minute. I gotta look at chat. Frankie B, hello. Wintermute, hello. Hey, I already said so. Rick, hi, and Alan Barsness, hello. Okay, yeah, everybody caught up there. So this is weird. Over here, host version shows 19042. Over here, host version is blank. All right, so there's some things about this that isn't making sense, and I don't see you making any comments or questions in there, so I'm going to step away from this and we'll move on to a next issue or topic. And I'm just contemplating where to go next. Well, let's just go take a look at another run. I'll look at my streaming computer, setup diag. Whoops, that's not what I want. I don't want to run it. I want to go into logs and then look at setup diag results. So here's what happened on that. This has PCAT also for the firmware, and this is a custom built computer. I didn't build it. I paid a company to build it back in 2013, I think it was, 2012. Shows a BIOS date. Now this computer did fail 20H2 when 20H2 first started becoming available, and I just delayed updates until when? April 18th. Wow, what? Wait a minute, what? Upgrade start time April 18th, upgrade end time May 2nd? I don't think so. April 18th to May 2nd. 2 weeks? There's no way this computer was running an upgrade for 2 weeks. I'm wondering. No, that doesn't make sense. I was going to say that it downloaded the upgrade and then prompted me to let it install the upgrade, and I delayed it and delayed it and delayed it and then finally let it go. And then down here, oh my, when I first looked at that number, I thought it was 13 hours. That's not 13 hours, that's 13 days. So now I'm wondering, this is the first time I noticed this, is that when that box shows up in the bottom right corner that is prompting for installing the upgrade, you can delay it from there. And I might have kept delaying it rather than going into Windows Update Advanced and changing the update date to a future date. That's curious. I don't know. Zvi Manor says, the logs are from the same computer. The left log is from 1909 and all updates that Microsoft send to the computer. Okay. And Rick Hubbard, if you get 21H1 from Windows Update, it takes minutes and there is no old version of Windows to clean up. Okay. If you get it from Windows Media, it takes hours. And you do get an old version to clean up. Okay, let me understand that. If you get it from Windows Update, so check for updates. And it wants to do an update to 21H1. It takes minutes, and there's no old version of Windows to clean up. So you're saying you can't uninstall that version. I really struggle to believe that, because I have uninstalled the newly installed version that came through Windows updates because it was causing a problem. I've done that on clients' computers. So to think that there's no old version to clean up, that's hard to buy. The other way around, it would be easier for me to accept. If you upgrade from media creation tool and creating a USB, I'd find it easier to believe that that doesn't give you an old version to restore to. That's strange. Chris Garrett says, hello, Doug. The Chrome issue I was having, I think a update fixed it. I will double check, but I've been using Edgemore. All right, thank you for that update. Rick says you can remove the update like any other. Okay, well then, maybe what you mean by old version is Windows.old isn't there. That I would buy that, but there should be the ability to revert back to the prior version. Okay, so Zvi Manor, now that you've said that those two logs are, and now that I know that you're here, I want to go back and put those up side by side again. Let's see, are these them? Yes, they are. Okay. Then on the left side is from 1909 and all updates that Microsoft sent to the computer. Okay. And the one on the right, well, now wait a minute. Maybe I titled this one on the right incorrectly, and you can tell me that. The one on the right, I titled it that it was 1909, manually upgraded to 21H1 with an ISO file. That's what I understood you to tell me. And you're in the chat, you said left log is from 1909 and all updates that Microsoft sent to the computer. And so what's on the right side? The right side, I understood it to be 1909 and then manually upgrade to 21H1 using an ISO file. Wintermute says that means 21H1 is not doing an in-place upgrade, which past feature updates did do. Yeah, I have a hard time buying that. I think it's got to be doing an in-place upgrade. I can't imagine that they're taking away the capability of reversing. And I thought that Windows.old only shows up if you, for instance, boot from a USB installation media and do custom upgrade, and it recognizes that there's an old Windows operating system and it will move all of those programs and data under Windows.old, and it will keep your data files, but you'll have to reinstall programs. I know that Windows.old shows up then. I'm not certain about during an upgrade. My upgrade has been more than 30 days away, hasn't it? Hitting the wrong keys here. Windows key D to get to the desktop, and back to that folder. Live Windows Training, Windows Update Logs, DougDSO, and diag results, May 2nd. Oh, no, it hasn't been 30 days. Not since May 2nd. It has been since April 18th. And this is, that's not the computer that I'm showing that on. It's on my streaming computer. So this gets a little tricky to display. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's see if I can show you this. All right, so now you're looking at File Explorer on my streaming computer, and there's a Windows folder and there's a Windows 10 upgrade folder dated May 25th. And May 25th is just a few days ago. Maybe that was a cumulative update that I might have postponed. All right, so am I able to uninstall the most recent feature update? I'm going to try Windows key, and then what is it? Restore recovery options. Recovery with, oh, here, go back to an earlier build. Is that option available? Go back to the previous version? No. Oh, it's only 10 days. You know what? I think it was 30 days when we went from Windows 7 to Windows 10, and now we only get 10 days. And I had to use that in a client's office where we did a feature upgrade over the weekend, and then when they came back to work, found that their vertical market attorney's office software was not working right for them. And I had to take them back to the previous version of Windows. All right. I'll catch up here on chat. Chris, I always delete Windows.old because I make a Cronus backup. Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's what I did with those clients. I did a image restore from Macrium backup. I can do that whole task remotely. I didn't just revert to the older version of Windows. Winter mute, that means 21 on, I read that already, is vManner. As I said, the left is all updates, include download time, and right is with ISO. Okay, so it's the download time? Is that what accounts for that difference? On the left, it was almost 12 hours. On the right, it was 23 minutes. Is it the download time that accounts for that difference between those two? Rick says, no, if you have 20H2 and use Windows Update, it does not create an old version of Windows. If you force it from Windows Media, it does a complete install from scratch. No. No. If you create media and reboot the computer on the media, yes, you have to do install from scratch. But if you create installation media and then just run setup.exe from that media, that's definitely an upgrade, not install from scratch. And even when you boot from the media, you get a choice for, what do they call it, standard, upgrade, or custom. And if you pick the first one, it tells you that you have to reboot the computer into Windows and run setup.exe from the USB media. And Rick says, I've done it on 2 desktops through Windows Update and 2 laptops through Windows Media Tool. Okay, but on those laptops, were you booting from the USB media or running setup.exe from the media after booting to the hard drive of the laptops? That makes a difference. VManner says, I think so. So that must be in response to the download time question. Okay, so we get some more detailed information in the logs about what was going on here. So this is the one that is called 1909 with updates to 20H2 and then update assistant. So come back here, VManner, and then this one, 1909 with all updates to 20H2 and use update assistant to 21H1. And this Windows Update file is the one that's created from the get Windows Update logs. And that technique appears to gather update logs for cumulative updates and security updates, as well as feature updates. So here we're looking for the one that started May 20th, 1531. And this is May 21st and May 22nd. So that must be subsequent. Upgrade in time 5/21/3/18. So this happened 5/22. So that one's not of interest. Then let's see, it is this one, setup activity. This is 225 megabytes. VManner says, I think so, yeah. And then want to mute, sorry, I gotta go. We'll look up that error code and comment later. Thank you for being with us, Wintermute. VManner, a computer with 20H2, that all updates have been updated on the 21H1 update. Computer will be smaller and shorter than full 21H1 installation. Yes, that makes sense. So, okay, yes, that makes sense. But the thing in here that I was struggling with is that this host build string 19041 host version 19042. What is that in our language? Is that 1909 or is that 20H2? That is 20H2. Oh, okay. 19042.508, 19042. is 20H2. But this is the 12-hour one. This is what I would have expected to be less time. A computer with 20H2 that all updates have been updated on the 21H1 update computer will be smaller and shorter than a full 21H1. That sounds like an argument to make this one shorter and quicker. Rick, maybe it worked differently in England. If we use the Update Assistant from Microsoft, it installs a complete install from scratch. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so I was trying to get to this setup activity. So here's 5:20 at 15:31. And that was on the one that says Update Assistant. So that's this one. Started at 5:20, 15:31. 5:20, 15:31. So setup host, initialize, just scanning through this. This is a really long file. But the thing that I'm contemplating here is that this stuff all during these first few hours appears to actually be doing stuff, not download time. Mitigation, cleanup, safe in images, doing stuff with registry, process mitigation, checking for applicability of something or other. Go down a ways and just kind of spot check things here. Started DPX phase, ended DPX phase, apply deltas. See, this is all near the beginning of that time range. You know, if it said began download and then had a big gap before anything else happens, then that download time would make sense. Compatibility scan finished, so there's a bunch of compatibility stuff that takes place in here. Looking at boot critical device, something here about product key validate, some more compatibility stuff. Now if I just hold this mouse button down and it's scrolling down one page worth at a time, the scroll box on the right side, you can see it's barely moving. This has got a long way to go. At this point, I'm at line number 11,278. When I drag this all the way down the bottom, the ending down here is line number 1,077,860. So over 1 million lines in this log file for this almost 12-hour update. And Rick says, by the way, this is now a B460 HD3 motherboard socket 1200. He'd be referring to the computer that he's was telling us about when he was in session with me. Now let me go back up to the top here, and since we speculated maybe download time had something to do with it, I'm going to try searching for the word download, see if that's in here. ESD download path. I'll scroll down a little bit and see what it says about download. ESD download path, drivers path, language path, install file found. And this is all at 15:31, so that's fairly early after the beginning of this upgrade, because this upgrade began at 15:31. So this is still within the first minute. Control F to search again. I need to unselect stuff before I can do that. That was line 125. Oh, it's not searching for the word download. Type that in again. And there's line 125 again. Let's just click a few times and get somewhere lower. Here's line 570. Calling generate download request on deployment session object. So that's kind of sounding like it's wanting to download something, although it says error. Now, something else I found in my research on this is the word error over here does not mean there's a problem. Errors can occur by normal course of this process. Rick says, midnight here. Good night, all. Good night, Rick. Thanks for stopping in. So what I lean towards next has to do with what was going on when Janet's computer failed the safe OS mode. What's in that detailed log at that time? So let's go find what that time was and then go look at her detailed log at that time and see if it gives us any better clues. Got to go to the one that failed, into the logs, and then it's set up diag. And by the way, there's a log file in here of the rollback. The other computers that didn't experience a rollback didn't have this log file. I don't recall if I've even looked at that. I'll double click that and see what's in there. It's not nearly as long, of course. It's 528 lines. Initiating rollback uninstall, initiating diagnostics, rollback online system started, execute rollback sequence, cleaning up Hyper file. So that's interesting. It's cleaning up the hibernation file as part of this process. Failure to delete Hyper file. Cleaning up page file, also known as virtual memory or swap file. Well, here's swap file. Page file, swap file. Yeah, okay. Those are so similar in my mind. There's warning and info. Cannot locate restore file. There is no crash dump file. Original list to new paths to be removed. So a whole bunch of stuff in here. Is it useful to us? This is, of course, with rollback. So this is the rollbacks happening after the problem has been encountered. So I just want to take a quick look at that. Let's go back trying to find something worthwhile. All right, so rollback failure, upgrade start time, upgrade end time, elapsed time 9 hours, setup diag reports rollback failure found, last phase finalize. Well, that's different. Oh, you know what? I don't think it's telling us that's where the error occurred. Last operation, remove system restore checkpoints, and this was the error. This error told us that it was an error during the safe OS phase. If you weren't here at the time, then when we looked at that, it's basically a Windows PE environment. I don't think it is technically exactly the pre-installation environment, but the same idea where it reboots into a basically off of the recovery partition. If I put 2 and 2 together correctly, because it makes the recovery partition bigger, puts some files on it, restarts the computer, and apparently boots from the recovery partition so that it can install new files to our main boot partition. So this error number, I'm just going to copy this piece of it into the paste buffer. When we go into that big long log, I'll search for that and see if that'll take us to the point where that occurred. This finalize phase. See here when it's telling us up here that the last phase is finalized, well down here it tells us more about the finalize phase. It occurred at this time. So the error had to have happened before this time, which this is only 3 minutes before the upgrade end time. So this finalize must have happened after the rollback was initiated. Now the log file probably also has a section that talks about rollback, so I'll copy that into the paste buffer also. And then Alt-Tab to get back to Windows Explorer. And then here's that big file. I look for the largest file size over here, and that takes me to the big long file. So double click on that. And this is a big file, so it's going to take a while, probably 1 million lines. The last one we looked at was over 1 million lines long. So I have not read them all. That'll probably be some good insomnia medicine. Reading through upgrade log files. I also opened one of these long ones, or 2 of them, side by side into that file compare program. And it worked, it opened, but it took a while to open, and one of them was a lot smaller than the other. It was those 2, I think it was the 2 from Zvi Manner's computer. Okay, so here let's see how long this one is. Click at the end of it. 841,000 lines. Perhaps smaller because it was not successful. Go back up to the top, click somewhere in the top, Control F for find, Windows key V to get to my paste buffer, and I'll try that error code. And searching through 870,000 lines could take a while, but that wasn't bad. Did not find that error number. Then try rollback. Yes. So there's rollback. I think this is near the beginning. Yeah, line 6. That's not line 6. I can see more lines. Okay, when I click on it, it's line 1499. And that's at 9:54. Let's refresh what the times are for this computer. Yeah, that's this one. So this upgrade started at 9:51 a.m., ended at 7:16 p.m. So this was early. So that was setting up the rollback capability, I'll say. Okay, then there's 1327. So that is partway through between the 9 a.m. and the 7 p.m. Setup Manager rollback enabled via scenario detection. Initializing rollback option. That sounds interesting. Disk space install required initializing rollback option. Now that computer had a 2 terabyte hard drive using less than 200 gigabytes, so it was not short on space. Dan the Man, hello. And let's see. Disk space, media path. Okay, so the Wim path, Windows Installation Manager, I think is what that is. It's a software distribution folder and the download folder. We know about that. We've talked about that before. Here's safe image index. Allow partition changes true. Allow uninstall true. Host settings, migration choice, recovery option 1. So the word recovery here occurs in the word rollback, but it's not actually doing that here. Okay, so let's go to the next instance, rollback. We're now at line 4311. Orchestrate OS switch for new OS with safe OS, rollback OS. That's titled over here as info, so it's not an error. I'm going to go past that. Prepare safe OS for rollback. Doesn't necessarily mean it's doing that now, but it could. Prepare safe OS for rollback. Kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? Set safe OS boot tree as default boot entry. Reading 1, setting for safe OS boot removal. Got safe OS boot removal. Will not attempt safe OS boot removal. Maximum attempts reached. Set safe OS boot command. That one there sounds kind of interesting, don't it? Will not attempt safe OS boot removal. Maximum attempts reached. So it's hard to say whether these things that make sense to us as human readers is really, can we interpret them correctly? Registry key, got offline, setting environment variable, migrate users offline. Checking system accent color, that seems irrelevant. So that item there, will not attempt safe OS boot removal, maximum attempts reach. Sure sounds interesting, but it's only listed as info. It's not listed as an error. So how do we know? Continuing on, still searching for rollback. Orchestrate OS switch for new OS with safe OS and rollback OS. It's similar to what we've seen before. Prepare for rollback. Rollback type 2. Kind of seeing the same hits here. Rollback initialize in progress. That sounds more on point. Rollback initialize in progress. Rollback initialize finished. That doesn't mean rollback is finished. That just means rollback initialize is finished. Calculating disk space needed. Cleanup snapshot. Extract files from WIM file. Export image from WIM file. Enable telemetry for Windows ~BT new OS. Set boot command. What time are we at now? 13:29. Back up the recovery partition. Mount WIM file, enable telemetry, run sysprep specialization, unmount the image. That's unmount the image, yada 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 / safe OS mount. So the error message indicated there was a problem in the safe OS mode. This here is unmounting the safe OS image, which I'm deducing to be an extended or enlarged portion of the recovery partition, because there's another line in here somewhere where it indicates that it's shrinking the recovery partition when it's done. So it actually has a period of time where it boots off of the recovery partition, and I believe that is the safe OS mode, otherwise known as Windows PE mode, so that I can change some operating system files. Prepare new OS for first boot. Finalize critical boundary, update boot code, update sector, add safe OS boot entry. Okay, I'm going to continue with the search for rollback. Oh, here's a different layout. What's this about? Orchestrate operating system switch for new OS with safe OS and rollback OS to external roll. Yeah, because that makes sense. We're still at 1329. Haven't gotten very far through this log file. We're about halfway through the whole period of time that this process took. So the direction that I was going coming into here was to see if we could get more specific information about what was going on during the safe OS mode. And one of the questions in my mind is, does this log actually contain the log entries of what was happening during the safe OS period of time? Or is that in a different log file? My conclusion, based upon the time codes that are in here, that there's no big gaps in time, that when the computer boots into safe mode, it continues appending to this log file. I haven't seen yet how to tell when it is actually in the safe OS mode, because it occurred to me that during that period of time, if we look at all of those log entries, doesn't it make sense that there'd be something in there that went wrong, and that we could see what went wrong and then theorize what might be a method to fix it? The challenge is how to find it, how to find that point. Now, let's, over here in the status column, we have info and error and what else? I'm going to go to the top of this file. Look at this scroll bar over there. We were hardly down very far at all. So then I'm going to do a Control F and search for error. And there's an error that came out here on the right hand side of this line. I'm more interested in something showing up in this column. So doing some more clicks, there's an error. There's the first instance of an error, app inventory. So that doesn't look interesting at all. I think what's happening here is it's checking to see what software and hardware and drivers are present, and when it's finding something that's not present that it's checking for, that generates an error. Here's an error for AEINV. Thought I was going to come up with antivirus something or other, just because of the A. At this point, I'm down to line 4,508. And at the 1328 time code, or 1:28 p.m. Warning, cannot open snapshot key, assume not exist. And that is, oh, that's interesting. This is a line that says SP delete old upgrade snapshots. So that sounds like it's deleting content from a prior upgrade. Not really helpful to us, but just I find it interesting to see what things that the upgrade process is trying to do. Just clicking through here, trying to find an error out in this column out here, and here's one. I registered task collection delete folder failed. See, that sounds suspicious to me, like when we've been given guidance or people that say, try this, try that, one of the things we've been told to try is the software distribution folder, delete it. So here we got something that says, I registration task collection delete folder failed. So failed to delete a folder. Did it fail to delete that folder because the folder's not there, or because there's a problem? So if we look at prior lines, SP removed scheduled task, clean up the folder as it's empty. Prior to that, SP removed scheduled task, clean up folder, Microsoft Windows setup. So it's /Microsoft /Windows /setup. I want to delete it if it's empty. It's not Windows /Microsoft. It's /Microsoft. I think that's a hidden folder. See, there is no Microsoft folder on the root. If we go to View and Options, change folder and search options, go to the View tab, show hidden files and folders, remove the check mark for, remove the check mark for hide extensions. Why was that check mark there? I never want that. And hide protected operating systems, remove that check mark. And there is no folder off of the root called Microsoft. So that might be, that Microsoft Windows setup folder might be in that SafeOS partition. We'd have to follow this programming back up further to see that. Well, it's not programming, it's a log file. We don't have access to the actual program code. So schedule task, remove task, snapshot, cleanup task. So that's the task that it's trying to remove. And this, once that snapshot cleanup task under Microsoft Windows setup is removed, then that folder could be removed. I see, that's not a folder on the file system, that's a folder in task schedulers. So if I do Windows key, scheduled task, or scheduler, here's task scheduler, that must be in there. Ken Stout says, finally made it home late to arrive. Hello, Ken. You really haven't missed much, Ken. So a folder called Microsoft, Windows, and then it was setup. So the setup folder is not here. So that is as it should be, because it wants to remove that folder. After removing that task from that folder, then it wants to clean up the folder if it's empty, and there's delete folder. So here where delete folder failed, I'd say it's probably because it didn't exist. So here I was searching for error. I'll continue. I'm at line 5448 right now. I'm not sure I'm going to go much longer at this because I think you can see this is just kind of a really deep rabbit hole that hasn't provided a whole lot of usable information. It provides information through these log files, and particularly the setup diag log file, mainly telling us how long it went and from what version to what version. So if somebody were to send a setup diag log file to me, I could deduce some information about what was happening, but the likelihood of being able to fix the problem, I don't have a whole lot of optimism for. Here's a failed to delete reg tree, so it's trying to delete a tree branch in the registry called system setup upgrade, and it maybe it failed to delete it because it wasn't there. Chris Garrett says this is a little over my head. Well, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, this is probably within the realm of me stretching to try to comprehend. And I was hoping that there would be something useful out of this, but the piece that I think is really useful out of this, and it's yet to be explored, is using the reporting tool within Windows to report to Microsoft a failed upgrade. These logs exist so that Microsoft can figure out the problems. They weren't ever intended for us to figure out the problems. There's a lot of utilities within Windows that are there because Microsoft created them so that they could fix problems, and they've made them available or accessible to us. They're not widely known or talked about amongst us non-Microsoft employees because they're not all that useful to us. Reasonable deduction, some of them are. But we don't go nearly as deep into them as Microsoft does. Well, there is a Microsoft reporting pathway for reporting failed upgrade. And we haven't talked about that yet. I have not talked about that yet on my channel, and I want to do that in a separate video. But these logs get automatically sent to Microsoft when an update fails. If you have selected to send full information to them instead of just what is it called? Basic and then required, the two options in privacy settings. Let's go look at that. See, I can't even spell privacy now. Privacy setting, diagnostics and feedback. This optional diagnostics data, required diagnostic data. So if somebody's having trouble with updates, then I want to change this to optional diagnostic data. And let's see, you can go view the diagnostic data to see what is being sent to them if you want to. And then in troubleshooting, here I said I want to do this as a separate video, and I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit about this now. Let's see, troubleshooting, Windows Update at the top of this. That's not the troubleshooting for it. Come back to troubleshooting. View troubleshoot, additional troubleshooters. Right? And then Windows Update. Then run the troubleshooter. And that goes through some automatic stuff. I guess the reason why I was intending not to do this during this video is because I need to review this process. Then, oh, no, I know what it is. It's not in here. It's not in here at all. Let's go back over here. I think I put it down at the end of my checklist. Sorry, update. Feedback Hub. That's it. Feedback Hub. So you go to your start button, type feedback, and Feedback Hub should already be on your computer. Click on that and click through these buttons to actually send feedback to them. It'll ask you to fill out some information on what the problem is you're having, and it automatically sends those logs to them. Now, what's the results of that? What's going to happen for that? I don't know until somebody tries it. And if I come across a computer that's within my purview, I'm going to try this, because if this gets them on to the problem, then that could be a great solution. And then another thing that's on my mind to do is you can jump into and out of the Windows Insider program. So my notion there is, on a computer that's having troubles upgrading, sign up for the Insider program for that computer and try to do the upgrade. And I think you'll get more attention at trying to solve that, because they want to solve the problems. Microsoft wants to solve the problems. If you sign up for the Insider program, they know they can expect a higher level of interaction available with you. And once you get the upgrade, then just unjoin from the Insider program. So I'm hopeful for that. I really, really want to find a better way to deal with upgrade problems, because I think we're going to continue having them. And all of them throwing mud at the wall techniques have just not been effective. It's pretty much so far always been a better choice to just nuke and pave, reformat and start over again. I don't like that option, because the computers that I manage, when I sell a new computer to a client, it typically takes 4 to 6 hours to get it all set up for them. I don't want to be doing that every time an upgrade has a problem. I don't know how much effort I'm going to have to put into fixing an upgrade problem. So where do you draw the line? When do you say, well, that's enough, I'm going to nuke and pave, spend the 6 hours, and be done with it? I need a more efficient, productive way of dealing with upgrade problems. So anyway, Ken says, I updated Windows 10 remotely on an HP this morning with no issues whatsoever. Wonderful. Congratulations. And Ken sent me videos of his upgrade work, and I think he even sent an edited video recently. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, Ken, but I'll get there. And so I may wind up posting his upgrade work. And Chris says, tree branch, the wind blew and broke the branch. It hit my windows and broke windows. You had me going there. I thought you were telling us about a tree getting blown over. I had that happen to me once. A tree blew over and knocked down the fence and fell into the pool and pushed one of my dogs into the pool. Zvi Manor says, good night, see you next time. Good night, Zvi. Okay, so that's all. Here's the email address if you want to reach out to me for anything. You know what? Is it fair for me to say I hope that was useful? Yeah, whatever. Have a good day. Catch you later. Goodbye.